Hello, hello, hello everyone, and welcome back to Fallout 76. This time for a Black Friday 2021 edition of the Purveyor sale, where we get 25% off all of our 3-star weapons. Today we're going to burn through 1,500 scripts, so 20 weapons, double the usual amount, and we'll see how we do. As always, we'll talk about what makes them good, what makes them bad, or what makes them somewhere in between. Remember, if you like videos like this and you want to see more, do go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. There's always a lot more to come on the channel. Let's head on in and pull that slot machine lever and see what Mama Mumbles has for us today. And our first roll of the day is a Troubleshooters combat rifle with the last shot effect. The last shot in the magazine has a chance to do double damage, and our VATS critical meter fills 25%, or rather 15% faster. The Troubleshooters effect is one of the better of the situational damage effects. You got lots of opportunities to attack robots, so having a weapon that does extra damage against them isn't a bad thing. Unfortunately, on a combat rifle, you're already a bit underpowered compared to something like a fixer or a handmade, so that's kind of disappointing. The last shot effect, I've talked about it at length before. I think it's completely awful in every way. The last shot has a 25% chance to deal double damage. If you're running a stinging magazine on this, that is a 1 in 100 chance. And that's assuming you actually let your magazines deplete the whole way, so that's pretty useless. The VATS critical meter filling 15% faster is not a bad perk to have, but it's also not necessarily enough to make you keep something like this around. I don't hate Troubleshooters, and I don't hate that third effect, but it's not amazing. Let's see what else we've got. Now we've got a Mutant Slayers assault rifle with 25% faster fire rate and a VATS critical meter that fills 15% faster. So this one is, in my opinion, a significant upgrade over the last one. The assault rifle is kind of in the same class as the combat rifle, where its damage is a bit underpowered compared to other commando-type weapons, but it has some benefits. Recoil's really low, reload's really fast. The Mutant Slayers effect here is another one of the more useful situational damage effects. 25% faster fire rate is of course going to give you much better DPS, and your VATS critical meter filling faster pairs up better with those. So all in all, this is just an overall better weapon than the last one. Mutant Slayers isn't bad for those situational effects. Lots of opportunities to run around the wasteland murdering super mutants. Definitely one of the favorite pastimes of many Fallout 76 players, so not a bad weapon. What do we get for our third try? Now this one's a lot more interesting. Here we've got a bloodied double-barrel shotgun. We replenish action points with each kill, and it breaks 50% slower. As always, bloodied is going to be king of the hill when it comes to damage, at least in most cases. So definitely going to be a powerful weapon that's going to do a lot of per-shot damage. Replenishing action points with each kill is going to be awesome because especially if you're using this in VATS and you're targeting heads and weak points, you're going to be getting a lot of one-shot, two-shot kills. So you're going to be replenishing your AP very rapidly. The fact that you have to reload this in between every 2 shots is kind of a knock against it, but you'll also replenish a little AP in there as you're kind of holding up between shots. So with those effects on there, you might feel pretty powerful with this if you're using it in VATS. Breaking 50% slower is certainly a positive in my opinion. So yeah, that one's a winner. And now we've got a Furious Handmade with bashing damage, and again, it breaks 50% slower. The Furious effect here is not bad on a handmade. It's not probably my top choice for a primary legendary effect, but it's not bad. What you get with Furious is each consecutive hit on the same target, your damage increases up to a total of 50%. For most of the general farming you're going to do, you're not going to get a ton of mileage out of that. But against your really tanky enemies and bosses, you're going to hit that max pretty quick, so that can be very useful. Bashing damage is completely pointless on anything other than a shredding minigun, so that's a total waste of a legendary effect. Breaking 50% slower. You all know me at this point. I'm not a fan of the grind, so anything that means my weapons last longer in between repairs generally makes me happy, at least until we get a challenge to repair weapons, and then, you know, I get a little bitter about that one. But overall, this isn't a bad roll, but bashing damage really kind of wrecks it. And now we've got a Juggernaut's Cryolator, again with the bashing damage, and VATS critical meter fills 15% faster. With Cryolators, I would prefer to see quad or vampires here. With a Cryolator, your goal isn't necessarily to do a ton of damage. These are more situational weapons that you're going to use to freeze bosses in place so everybody else can do damage to them. You can freeze the Imposter Sheepsquatch. You can freeze the Scorchbeast Queen when she's on the ground. So there's a lot of value to that, but you don't necessarily need a damage buff to help you do that. Something like quad, where you're reloading less often, is going to help you. Something like vampires, that's going to make it easier for you to stay alive, that's also going to help you. Even medics, which could be good there if you're in close proximity to your team, can give your team a health buff while you're using it. All of those effects, I think, would be a little more useful. Maybe even suppressors to reduce the damage output of those weapons. So Cryolator's cool, but that's just not the one I'd want. A quad Gatling gun, again with the last shot effect, and this one with extra agility. This one, I gotta say, I don't really love. The reload speed on the Gatling gun is not particularly slow. It's not super fast, but it's not particularly slow, and it holds a pretty decent amount of ammo to begin with. So quadrupling that doesn't really give you that much of an advantage here. The last shot effect is terrible here. With quad on here, you're going to reload this thing pretty much never. So the number of times you're going to get to that last shot in the magazine is going to be so few and far between that it might as well not even exist. Extra agility doesn't hurt. It gives you a little more AP that you can use in VATS if you're choosing to use this in VATS as a heavy gunner. But all in all, not in love with this one. I like the quad effect on a lot of heavy guns, but on the Gatling gun, unless it was paired with something else that would give it some more power, then I think this one's kind of a dud. Not in love with it. Somebody might love it, but I definitely don't. Moving on, we've got a Junkies Gamma Gun with VATS critical shots doing more damage and 90% reduced weight. I love the 90% reduced weight on a weapon like this because it's kind of a niche weapon. It's not something that most players are going to build for, but with good legendary effects like Junkies and VATS critical shots doing more damage, it can still be a pretty powerful weapon. So maybe you're a Junkies commando, but you want to have something like this for certain occasions, maybe if you jump into PvP or something like that. So reducing the weight makes it easier to carry this around, which can make it actually useful. And then rather than relying on a build for it, you rely on the legendary effects to get the extra damage. So this isn't a bad one. I don't think anybody's going to build for this weapon, but it's definitely not a bad roll as kind of a sidearm for your existing Junkies build that isn't built around pistols. So not bad, not amazing, but not bad. Next up, we've got an Executioner's Hunting Rifle with 25% damage while aiming and extra perception. So my thoughts on this one. I think we need to put it in perspective. The hunting rifle isn't a weapon that most high-level players are going to use. So I think we put this in the perspective of a level 50 to 100 player who doesn't have all the amazing stuff yet. If you were to find a weapon like this isn't bad. Maybe you don't have your build perfected yet. So when you use a weapon like this, you still need to put multiple shots on a target. The Executioner's effect can be useful there. Extra damage while aiming certainly helps, because you can use this as a sniper rifle and fire from a distance to keep yourself safe. Extra perception will give you a little bit better VATS accuracy. I don't know that that really matters all that much here. I think you're going to rely more on that damage while aiming down sights or with a scope. So the Executioner's effect on this type of weapon, on a sniper rifle, where for a high-level player, your goal for this type of weapon is to kill things in one shot. But for a mid-level player, you might not be at that point yet. So if you're landing 3 to 5 shots on targets, this could bring you out ahead and certainly help you if you're going up against bigger, tougher enemies. So not bad. Okay, roll. Next up, okay, this one's pretty good. So the Vampire's effect is fantastic on a weapon like this. Heavy guns are great for vampires because you're putting yourself in danger with a heavy gun. You're not sneaking around, you're definitely front and center, and enemies are all firing at you. So something that's going to keep your health buffed up while you're doing that is definitely not a bad thing. Increasing your fire rate is going to increase your overall DPS. So again, excellent choice here. With the minigun, you hold a ton of ammo in this thing, so increasing your fire rate really doesn't hurt you that much. So those two effects right there are awesome. The only drawback to the minigun is it has that spin up effect, so it takes a second until it actually starts firing, which kind of sucks, but this is still pretty good. Would I rather have vampires faster fire rate on a 50 cal? Yes. But if I don't have a 50 cal with those things, a minigun is a good second choice. 25% less VATS AP cost. I feel like that's kind of pointless here. I just don't see most heavy gunners running around with a ton of AP for VATS. I just don't see that as what you're doing with this. This is more of a spray and pray kind of weapon, so that effect I think is kind of lost on this weapon, but the first two definitely make up for it. So we've got a couple of good rolls out of this today. Now we've got a Junkies Pepper Shaker with bashing damage and less VATS AP cost. So this one's kind of interesting. It is both a shotgun and a heavy gun. So you can use perks from both of those to increase its damage. If you are primarily a shotgun build, then you might be using VATS quite a bit, in which case the less VATS AP cost is going to be helpful with this. If you're primarily a heavy gunner, then you're not really going to get much out of that. The bashing damage effect is fairly pointless. As far as I know, there's no shredding barrel for this thing, so I don't think you're really going to get anything out of that. Maybe I'm wrong. If I am, correct me. Correct me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that's just for the minigun. So yeah, the Pepper Shaker is one of those kind of cool, but not really amazing weapons. So I don't know how much anyone's really going to love this, but if you want to do a Junkies build and you want to max out damage using shotgunner and heavy gunner perks, you can get some pretty serious damage out of a weapon like this. If you pair that with some VATS perks, then maybe you get a little more mileage out of it yet. Unfortunately, we've got a wasted second star here with bashing damage, but I digress. Let's move along. A Stalker's Railway Rifle with limb damage and faster reload. So this one is pretty much a total piece of garbage. The Stalker's effect, in my opinion, and I've said it before, is completely pointless. It is a total waste. If not in combat, you basically double your VATS accuracy at 50% more AP cost. So if you're hidden instead of in caution, you get double the VATS accuracy. Well, okay. I mean, I guess it's better than nothing, but who's going to build around that? You need to improve that perk. Make that something different. Like if not in combat, you do 3 times damage. You know, you get into caution pretty easily when you're a stealth build. So something like that would really slow down your gameplay and kind of change how you do things in order to get those max damage buffs. So that could be really interesting, but this effect is not worth doing that for. Limb damage on a railway rifle, other than the biggest, toughest bosses in the game, everything you shoot at with this, even with its terrible perks, is going to die instantly. So limb damage is pointless here. Faster reload, that doesn't hurt to have because you do reload this pretty often, but it's not a super slow reload either, so you're not getting a ton of mileage out of that. I guess if you really want to do a railway rifle build and you just don't have a legendary one at all, then maybe this one's better than nothing, but overall, I gotta say this is one of the first ones that's going back to the Scrip bin that we got today. All right, let's keep this train rolling. What do we have next? Come on. Instigating Gauss Pistol with the last shot effect and extra perception. I'm not in love with this. The instigating effect was nerfed a while back, so it kind of sucks now on pretty much everything. If it's going to be good on anything, it'll be good on this weapon. This weapon where you've got base damage at 152. This character is not built for pistols, so there's really no buff there. Well, I am bloodied, so it's probably buffing that a little bit. But where you're going to see maybe some goodness out of instigating is those high per shot base damage weapons, because that's what it's doubling. It's not doubling all the stacked buffed damage from your perks and everything else. So if you have a high base damage weapon, then instigating can still be okay. But anything else and it's really lacking. The last shot effect, again, I hate it. This is a weapon where you're going to do tactical reloads as you go. You're very rarely going to be using the last shot in a magazine. So I feel like this one's kind of pointless there. Extra perception will help you a little bit with VATS accuracy, which is not a bad thing, but that would sure be a whole lot better if we had a VATS perk in that second slot instead of last shot. Now we've got a Hunter's Gauss shotgun with the last shot effect and our VATS critical meter filling 15% faster. So this one's a little different in that the Gauss shotgun is a really good weapon, no matter what. So even without legendary effects, it's a really good weapon. So if you don't have a Gauss shotgun and this is the first one you roll, it's going to be better than most anything else you have if you're a shotgun build. The Hunter's effect is a situational effect that I don't love. Yes, it counts towards the Scorch Beast Queen, at least as far as I know. But other than that, you're talking about Radstags, Yaoguais, probably Deathclaws, things like that. But these are things that you don't run into a lot. You don't go farming those kinds of enemies. So not a lot of mileage from that effect. The last shot effect here again, don't love it. You're going to do tactical reloads, so you're very rarely going to get that. VATS critical meter filling faster certainly doesn't hurt, but I don't see this as the kind of set of effects that anybody's going to keep around as soon as they have a chance at something better. If you were crafting Gauss shotguns instead of rolling at the Purveyor, I'm sure you would roll another one here and it would be better than that. Just odds on it would have to be. Now we've got an anti-armor black powder rifle with AP refresh with each kill and 15% faster reload. It's no secret that I don't love the black powder weapons in this game. The reload is really slow. So unless you're using a glitch where you can spam fire them, then I think that kind of takes them out of contention for most players. But there are certainly people out there with different tastes than me. So there are people out there that love black powder weapons and they want to use them all the time. And if you are one of those people, then this is probably a pretty good one. Anti-armor is going to ignore half of your target's armor. Not going to help you a whole lot on really squishy things, but on most of your tougher enemies, you'll definitely get some return on that investment. Replenishing action points with each kill. This is a weapon that, assuming you're built for headshots and things like that, you're going to be getting a lot of one-shot kills, so you'll be replenishing some AP every time you kill something, and that's going to be almost every shot, so that's very good. 15% faster reload is very significant on a weapon like this because the reload takes about 17 years. So with 15% faster, you're taking some years off of that. That's not bad. Let's keep going here. We've got an instigating hellstorm missile launcher, again with the damn last shot effect, and 250 damage resistance while reloading. So here's another good example of an instigating weapon that could be good because we're doubling the base damage, and this is a high base damage weapon, so that could be useful. The hellstorm missile launcher is pretty powerful in that regard, just right out of the box. The last shot effect, unfortunately, I don't love it. With that said, with this weapon, you don't have tons of rounds of ammo in the magazine. If I remember correctly, I think you have 4. So you will probably benefit from that occasionally with this one. So that's not a bad thing to keep in mind. Damage resistance while reloading. I don't love that effect because it's generally a really brief window that it would come into play. But I suppose if there's a time that you need that extra damage resistance, it's probably while you're reloading. So I guess that's not bad. I don't know if I love this weapon, but I definitely don't hate it. The last shot effect's going to be more useful here than on most of the weapons we've had it on. Instigating will be more useful here than most of the weapons we get it on. So it's probably not terrible, but also probably not amazing. And now we've got a bloodied Gauss minigun with VATS critical hits doing more damage and faster movement speed while aiming. So this one is, for all intents and purposes, a 1-star bloodied Gauss minigun, which isn't bad. Don't get me wrong. If you're going to get a Gauss minigun, a bloodied one is a good one to get. Unfortunately, VATS critical shots doing more damage, fairly pointless on a heavy gun, at least for most heavy gunners. Faster movement speed while aiming. This is definitely a weapon you're getting at a higher level. Chances are at a higher level, you're running the speed demon mutation, so You're not really going to get anything out of that legendary effect. So really the only one you're probably going to use is bloodied. And that's okay because that's going to give you a pretty solid damage buff. And that's necessary with this weapon because despite it being a high level late game special weapon, it's not that great. It's okay. Don't get me wrong. It's a good weapon. It's a good solid weapon and you can do a lot of things with it. But there are many other weapons in the game that are better. So you're going to want a damage buff on this, and Bloody's probably the way to go. I would much prefer to see something like faster fire rate here. I think that would make it much more effective. Something that would reduce the weight of it would help because your 2mm EC ammo is very heavy, even if you're running perks to reduce its weight. So there's definitely some better second and third stars I'd like to see here, but if you're going to get a Gauss minigun, a bloodied one is the one you probably want. And now we've got a Mutant Slayers assault rifle with faster fire rate and extra perception. Didn't we get one of these already? Oh no, that one was Mutant Slayers fire rate and faster VATS critical meter. So yeah, we pretty much got one of these already. It's a little different, but not much. Extra perception will give us maybe slightly better VATS accuracy, while the other one will give us a faster VATS critical meter. I'd probably prefer that over this, considering everything else is identical here, and this is already getting pretty long. Let's just jump forward because I think we kind of get the point. And here's a nice piece of garbage. All right, so we've got a bloodied Assaultron Head with replenished action points on each kill, and it breaks 50% slower. So that set of perks I love. Unfortunately, the Assaultron Head is a stupid, pointless weapon that no one will ever use. It takes forever to load it. It doesn't seem to really work right and do the amount of damage that it says it does when you do load it up. So yeah, nobody's ever going to use this thing. It irradiates you when you use it. Why would anyone voluntarily use this piece of crap? I just don't understand it. It's one of those really niche kind of weapons that maybe you use it as a gag for a little bit, but it really doesn't matter what legendary effects you have on it. This thing is a complete and total waste of time. It's going back in for Scrip. We're going to move along. Now we've got an anti-armor crossbow with bashing damage and less VATS AP cost. So if you're going to go crossbow, anti-armor isn't a bad solution. It's going to ignore 50% of your target's armor. Your really squishy enemies, not going to get a ton of mileage out of that, but your tougher targets, your behemoths, your scorch beasts, things like that, you're definitely going to see that pay off in a much bigger way. It's a nice silent weapon, so if you want to be really stealthy, you can do that. It's not the most powerful weapon in the game by any means, but if you're running it with a VATS build and you use this 25% less VATS AP cost, that's going to be a nice little combination there. Unfortunately, our second star here is bashing damage, which is a total waste of time on a weapon like this. So with that said, so would be most second effects here, unless it's a VATS effect. VATS hit chance, for example, would be awesome here, but faster fire rate, any number of other things here because it's a slower firing weapon just aren't really going to give you anything. So, okay, what can you do? And what can you do with an exterminator's bow? Well, the answer is you can turn it back in for Scrip, but probably not super fast because it only weighs 3 pounds. So what you can do with this is it's going to end up hanging around in your stash for a while, at least in most cases, except right now because we have double Scrip during this Black Friday weekend. So fortunately, I'll be able to turn in pretty much all the garbage I got today, which is good. The Exterminator's bow, let's talk the effects real quick. Exterminator's effect against Mirelurks and bugs. Yeah, it's okay, I guess, if you really love killing those things, but who goes hunting them? Damage while aiming, not ideal for a bow. VATS is much more effective with a bow. Extra perception will help you with the VATS accuracy, but the rest of it is kind of a wash. So yeah, basically a non-legendary bow is what we got there. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of this trip to the Purveyor. We got some good stuff. There's definitely a few winners we walked away with today, and definitely an awful lot of losers. But that's how it goes when you visit the Purveyor. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes you just kind of aren't really sure. but that's how it is. I do hope you've enjoyed spending time with me for this one. If you did, remember there's always more to come on the channel, so go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, follow me on Twitter. There's always more coming. There's streams every week, all that good stuff. But I think it's time to wrap this one up for the day, so thank you for joining me, and I hope I see you all next time.